Ciao Matnoi. We are starting with chapter 10 and we're going to start straight away with 10.4, which is congruent figures, and we'll come back to 10.1, 10.2 and 10.3 at the end of this chapter, although this won't be in the exam. So before we start with congruency, what is a figure? And a figure is just a shape, a diagram or an illustration. Now, congruent in mathematics means that two objects are identical. That means that they are exactly the same. They're copies of each other. So in terms of computering, if you have any document open and you copy something and you paste it just as it is, they are congruent. You can turn them around, you can flip them upside down, they still stay exactly the same. Now, if I have two congruent figures, the corresponding parts of a figure have the same geometric properties. Remember, corresponding means matching, so the sides or the angles that match. Let's have a look at some examples. Now in this here we have two figures. We can call it triangle ABC and triangle FDE. If these two are congruent, which they are, we can then say that vertex C corresponds to vertex E. Now remember, vertex mean the point. So where two lines meet, that gives you the vertex. So vertex C equals the vertex E, vertex A, vertex F, and vertex B, vertex D. They are corresponding because they have the same geometric properties. Sides AB. So the sides between the two corresponding angles. So if A corresponds to F and B corresponds to D, then side AB corresponds to side FD, and it means they have exactly the same size, and that's it. Also the angles B correspond to D. B correspond to D, so it's not only the vertices that correspond, it's also the angles as well as the sides. The symbol we use for a triangle is A. And now we're going to come to the very important part, and this is how do we actually set this up. If I want to say that these two triangles are congruent, we're going to use the symbol that looks like that. So 3 equals an equal sign with an extra line. It can also be written like this, where you have another line. Just redo that, a line, and then a line like that, a squiggly line, or just 3 straight lines. Now this statement is very important. If I look at this statement, it needs to be in the right order. We will come to this and we will hammer on this quite a bit, but what I say here is, if I say triangle ABC is congruent to triangle FDE, it means that the first angle or apex here, A, or vertex, correspond to F, because that's the first one there, and B correspond to D, and C correspond to E. So the statement in which we write it, the order is very, very important. So let's look at a typical question that we can ask. Name the corresponding pairs. These two quadrilaterals are congruent. Name the objects in quadrilateral EFGH that corresponds to these objects in quadrilateral ABCD. Now before I even look at these vertex C and side AB and angle C, what I'm going to do is I recommend that you have color pencils or you have highlighters, and that you do the following. When you get a question like that, use your color pens and highlight the corresponding sides. So clear to me is that this BC corresponds to GH. Then I have this flat part that's next to it. So I'm going to highlight this, corresponds to that. There's then a 90 degrees angle from that point, which means I'm going to go. So from D, the 90 degrees is this DA. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to highlight that one. And then the last one will be this big diagonal line coming down there. And that one there. So once I've done that, it's pretty clear to me what is the same and what's not the same. You can't make any mistakes by accident, and it should be much easier to then just answer the question. So if they ask you in A, what is corresponding to vertex C? For A, the vertex to C will be between the red and the blue. So we look at here, the angle, or the vertex between the blue and the red, between blue and red. So vertex C is the same as vertex G. So between the blue and the red and the blue and the red. So vertex C will make it vertex G. Right, for side AB, so we're looking at side AB. AB is pretty obvious now that you can see that we have AB is over there, the orange line, and here it is HE. So AB is the orange, HE is the orange. So my answer would be side HE. The last one is angle C, and that works exactly the same as the vertices. So angle C is DCB, so it's the one between red and blue. So the one between red and blue is angle C. Can you see how we write vertex C, but we say angle C? So C is the point, and C is the actual angle that we have there. Okay, so for C, the angle C will be angle G. Angle G. Alright, I hope you understood that. I would like you now to do the following questions that will magically appear under our heading exercise 10D at the bottom of the page. Yep, so only 1 to 6. Please mark it and be ready for class next time. Tap it. Just a hint on which language I was greeting you in today.